chat room, you can type it in, and I will share it with Alicia. If you are on the phone, you can press 1, and that will let me know you have something to share. So I had a question, but I want to hold it for a minute because I really have been wanting to ask you about the 7 pillars of powerfully positioning your media success. I'm wondering if you've shared some of those with us already in some of these ideas that you've been throwing out. But I would love it if you would share the 7 with my audience.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So we actually have talked about one, which is preparation, and I'm actually going to talk about the preparation process from a different vantage point than what I was speaking about earlier when we were talking about accurately preparing. So the 7 pillars for powerfully positioning your media success are preparation, presentation, public speaking, podcasting, publishing, publicity, and profits, of course. And those are very basic, but it's how you use them in the media. And even though all of these areas are very important and we use them all sometimes at the same time, but when it comes to mastery of these pillars, I really recommend only working on your maybe 2 or 3 major areas at a time. And if someone's just beginning, I would recommend only choose maybe one major area and then a minor. So go back to your college days, choose your major and your minor areas that you want to focus on. And an example is like if you choose to focus, let's say, on podcasting as a major to really get your feet wet with being interviewed or even hosting your own show. So your minor could be in publishing as you're starting to work on your first book project and you're starting to learn the ins and outs of the media. And if you're, let's say, a seasoned professional, then I would recommend that if you're already using these 7 pillars, then start up-leveling 2 major areas and maybe choose one minor or vice versa. And an example is that you could select, let's say, the area as a major in public speaking to work on your current talk, or you're developing a new talk while you're also working on your profits model. And then let's just say you choose a minor in the area of publicity, and you start delegating that area to maybe an agent or a publicist or a marketing manager, whichever you use. But you want to make sure that you choose the most aligned areas to start working on first, because once you get in the flow and you begin to start creating momentum with these areas, then you can start incorporating some of the others into your next phase. And eventually, as I mentioned before, you're going to see all 7 pillars already in operation for your media success, but you want to keep consistently amping those up. And consistency, as we know, is extremely important when you're in the media. So if I can I make sort of some distinctions in the preparation process from what I was speaking about earlier? So earlier we were talking about being accurately aligned, and this still applies. But the preparation that I'm talking about within the 7 pillars is really about mastering your media mindset and your planning, your master planning process. Because as we know, preparation is an ongoing process. Yeah. But you have to be mentally ready for the media. You know, it's definitely, as I mentioned, an ongoing process of not only being mentally but skillfully and confidently ready also for your success. But you want to be a master craftsman at what you do in exuding your expertise. That's very critical to your success. Yeah. However, mindset mastery for the media is even more vital. It's even more vital because one of the things that you have to continuously do is cultivate your mind to be ready for the media. As you know, there's a lot that comes with being in the media. You know, are you ready to possibly deal with critics? Are you ready even to deal with the success? that comes from putting your message out there and actually being received. If you're not used to receiving credibility or notoriety, you have to be prepared. Your inner game has to be mastered, for that. And I really just believe that everybody's preparation process should really include not only a master planning process, but also a mindset and even a competency challenge really at every phase. So since we're in the Olympic energy, you always have to go for the goal and prepare your mind, your mental muscles, and everything you do as if you're going for the goal. And when you're doing that, you will begin to increase your confidence, and then you can start really implementing effectively. Start breaking your task down maybe into some small goals with some deadlines. I know there are a lot of teachers who talk about taking massive action and really getting into action, but make sure you're getting into the right aligned and right inspired actions as you're accurately preparing, and that's a mindset shift as well. So I just really wanted to make that distinction of what I was speaking about earlier, to share preparation from a different vantage point.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because they really are different things, but equally important, I would think, that you have to have the mindset, and you also have to do the work of preparing, and they are,
Yes.
Yeah. That's good.
Definitely. Would you like me to expound upon any of the others?
Publicity.
Okay, that goes back to alignment. that definitely goes back to alignment. I'm so glad you actually selected that one because I can say this very, very quickly. You need to have the right aligned media exposure via online and offline using, various platforms because, again, it's not enough just to have a lot of publicity, but you want to make sure that you have the aligned publicity so that you're presenting your message to the right audience. And as we've been talking, mostly about the preparation process, about being accurately prepared for effectively really showcasing yourself to the right audience, this is also true with publicity. Getting media exposure is great, but you want to make sure that you are showcasing your messages to the right venues because that's what's going to catapult your success. And if I can, I want to plug this in really quick. If you have different offerings, I would suggest that you share certain offerings on a particular media platform, but maybe some of your higher-end offerings you share at a live event. And we can talk about that more when we get into, talking more about the profits. But you definitely want to start separating or categorizing how you show up in the media and who you really desire to attract, because that's extremely important as it relates to publicity. Another thing around publicity is making sure that you have, if you're using a publicist or, a PR firm, you definitely want to make sure you've got the right aligned one.
Yeah, which I think is hard. So, that's part of the reason why I wanted you to talk about this subject, because I think, how does someone know what the right one is?
Well, sometimes, trial and error obviously can, can help to assist us with knowing. But this goes to being in the present moment and actually how the present moment really can help to facilitate your growth and expansion, so it creates the awareness of what it is that you need to do in order to properly position yourself and who are the people who need to be a part of that process. It's really a very intuitive time. You have to really listen to your gut. And like I said, trial and error can definitely teach us. But we kind of need to get a sense of being clear about what we want, who we want to work with. And when that individual shows up, we can sort of gauge from the ideal, like you choose an ideal client. Who is your ideal publicist, and do they have these, qualifications? Do you start to build a relationship with them, prior to allowing them to start showcasing you? So those are ways that you can start to really get to know someone and make a connection. And then you can test them after 90 days to see if this is going to be a working relationship and also the results that you start to get.
So, gosh, thank you so much for that. For a couple of reasons. One, because that